Yeah, so we're gonna walk through snatch and the clean and jerk today. Basically, the two Olympic movements that are used in competitions, and there's a lot of carryover to athletic performance for a training setting, like a collegiate setting for strength and conditioning. So have any of you ever snatched or cleaned or jerked before? Probably just Tim. So that's pretty common, like general population outside of athletics, it's super technical, so it takes a lot of time to develop good technique. A lot of people don't really dive into it. So then I'd ask the question, why do we spend so much time on it in an athletic setting like strength and conditioning? Going over so much time to develop technique, what's the carryover to sports? So it's going to be explosive power, which is, think about all sports almost universally. You're going to need explosive power to excel in it, which is strength plus speed is explosive power. So think about putting force into the ground, running, jumping, change of direction. To be generally athletic, you're going to need all of that. And this trains the whole body all at once, basically. So compound movement, multi-joint. It's very good for training that sort of thing. So I will start with the snatch, which is what they start with first at Olympic meets, because snatch, most people can generally snatch less than they can clean and jerk. So I'll go the same order as that. But to start off, so what you guys need to know for your certification is first, before you even touch the bar, what's your setup? So you walk up to the bar, you're going to want the first cue to be your feet are at hip, shoulder width. The really good cue you can use for the athletes is just saying the stance that you would jump in, where you feel like you can jump the best, because obviously someone's wide out here, no one's going to want to jump like that comfortably or too narrow. So it can vary amongst athletes with like femur lengths and stuff, but say shoulder width or the height that you jump at is something good to tell them. You're going to have your feet evenly under the bar, also kind of an obvious thing, not offset, 1 foot step back and behind you, evenly under the bar. Bar is going to cover your shoelaces from your eyesight is kind of a good indication that you're in a good position over the bar. Secondly, also before you touch the bar, full foot contact on the ground. So the most common mistakes you're going to see, or errors in athletes, is they'll be too far forward when they grab the bar, up on their toes, their heels are off the ground, or they're back on their heels, and did I just say? Yeah, they're either they're up on their toes or they're back on their heels. So butt back, not a great position, butt forward. Full foot contact on the ground, a great cue that I've heard for this is think of your big toe, your little toe, and your heel as like a talon squeezing the ground. So that takes away all the airspace around your toes and your heels. I tried that the other day with the men's lacrosse team as a cue, and it seemed to come across to them pretty well, like they understood it. So number 1, you walk up, feet are at shoulder width, and then 2, full foot contact on the ground as you address the bar. Next is the grip. So for the snatch, it's going to be a wider grip than the clean and jerk. A good way of indicating what your grip is going to be is when you pick the bar up. I'll actually start with PVC pipe. And it's wherever the bar is going to come across your hip crease here. So it usually, for almost all cases, is going to be outside the rings here on the bar. But you can have athletes go through, find the spot here, basically, so it's not way down the thigh. You want it to be a hip crease. And there's 2 ways of gripping it. There's actually a hook grip, where you grab your middle finger and then wrap around with your index finger here, which is mechanically going to make it easier to hold onto the bar because it traps your finger there. A lot of athletes, that's more of an advanced thing for actual Olympic weightlifting, because a lot of people complain about like how it's uncomfortable, and it takes like 2 weeks or so. It's going to hurt for the first little while. So regular overhand grip's fine. You're not grabbing underhand, overhand. Outside the rings, again, athletes can play around for a while, find a good grip for them. Bar close to your shins is the next cue, and I actually mentioned that already once, which is before you even reach down to the bar, you can see that the bar is covering your laces of your shoes. That's a pretty good position, because if you start off way back here, your hips are going to be too far back, and you don't necessarily want to scrape your shins. The best cue to cover all of that, because if you think about all that stuff I just said, telling it to an athlete in the lift is going to take like 5 minutes. They'll align themselves in the correct position if you focus on having your knees in front of your elbows. So you've got the bar, your knees are in front of your elbows, and see how that pulled me in position? The bar is close to my shins. I've got a pretty flat back, whereas a little further forward, you can see there's too much space, but not so much as to where they're going to be touching their shins. So right before you take a pull off the ground, the next thing is going to be breathing. So always mention before any of the other lifts too, squat, bench, a bracing breath. Make a mention of that so that, you know, it's not just squeezing your core. Another cue that I've liked for that is when someone presses on you here, you can walk up, ask them if you can put your hands on them and be like, press into my hand here. And then you squeeze, and you're pressing outwards around your whole diaphragm, not just squeezing forward. Bracing breath, your shoulders should be over in advance of the bar. Again, that's a cue that you can have. Just think of knees in front of elbows when you're actually working with athletes. Flat back, neutral spine. So you can see that I'm not hunched over. I'm not into like, it's actually, you have to have a lot of flexibility to get crazy far into lordosis. But what you can work on for the pull with that and keeping a flat back as you get up another cue that I learned this weekend is getting in like a general athletic position and then pressing on your knees like to lift yourself up and down. So you're gonna naturally keep your back flat for it to be comfortable. You're going like this. You can see from the side view, my back is staying relatively, shoulders and hips are rising at the same rate. Because if you, like it's gonna be uncomfortable to like raise my shoulders at a faster rate or to go like this, like it doesn't feel right. So you can have them actually feel that neuromuscular connection working through it on their own a little bit. Just feel like that's kind of how it should feel as you're coming up on the pull. So again, I'll run down what we just went through quick. So feet shoulder width, full foot contact on the ground, find the proper grip, keep the bar close to your shins, take a bracing breath, put your shoulders in advance of the bar, flat back, neutral spine, and then as you're going up, your hips and shoulders are going to rise at the same rate like I just said. And that should ensure a straight bar path up. So this is what the initial pull is going to look like. You're going to want to get your shins vertical as opposed to a lot of people just want to stand up, see how the bar's kind of out front of my body. It's going to be way more efficient. You're going to keep the bar straighter if your knees are going back and your shins are going parallel up to that first position there. And then throughout the movement, you're keeping the bar close to your body. That's the first pull is what we call that, up to the knee. The second pull where we rebend the knees. So first pull, second pull is going to be from here to here, getting up to the hip crease before I triple extend. So shins vertical in the first pull, and the second pull, you're rebending the knees and starting to triple extend. And then you will transition into the power position. That's also what that second pull is. So that's one way that you can train snatch and clean and jerk is being in the power position where you start instead of from the floor with bent knees. You can go from knee just above the knee. And in the USAW, we worked through that a lot because it's an easier movement position to start off from to train athletes who don't know as much about it. So key takeaways from that real quick right there. Hips and shoulders rise at the same time. Bar path should be straight up and down. The bar should be close to your body throughout the whole movement. So think as you're pulling, knuckles down. And it's like brushing the logo on your shirt here. So if your knuckles aren't down, you really don't have any leverage to pull the bar up. Like you can't pull it close to your body here because then you're going to kind of lose grip strength and all power. And the main thing we're trying to avoid is if your knuckles come up, that usually means that you're like doing a reverse curl here, which is super inefficient, longer moment arm, puts a lot of stress on different muscle groups. So that's a cue that you can use is either keep your knuckles down, brush the logo on your chest for both snatch and the clean, which I'll get to in a little bit here. All right, now that you've got the full triple extension and the pulling portion of it, getting under the bar is something that takes a little bit of work too. You don't just want to have gravity, like have you fall under the bar. It's actively, you're pulling yourself down under the bar. So that's the transition from you got the first and second pull, triple extension. Now you're pulling yourself under the bar, which is kind of a hard thing to grasp at first for a lot of people. So one good way to train that in the snatch is what we call snatch balances, where you put it on your back here and you practice that jumping down into the position. So your feet will widen out a little bit, a little knee bend, snap down. You can practice that you're dropping yourself under the bar while you're punching up towards the ceiling. You can go through that progression with athletes for a little while and then go into a power snatch and eventually snatch from the floor so they can get a good feel for it. And then another thing that you guys will have to know is you need full foot contact and heels on the ground when you're in the catch position again. So it's going to be kind of hard not to do that. Naturally, like some errors that you'll see sometimes is athletes like coming on, still the same thing, up on their toes or back on their heels, but they'll definitely feel it when they're moving the weight that fast, that it's going to kind of feel unnatural. And if they ask like, hey coach, what didn't look right about that? Your foot contact. A lot of the cues that I'll hear is you can use some chalk for a target for them. So drawing on the side of each foot, like just move your feet straight out to the side by an inch or two. So you focus on the foot movement and that'll kind of direct everything else. And with that, you're gonna wanna catch the weight at the same time that your heels hit. So right as the weight turns over and it's at its highest point, so it's like 0 pounds basically, and the weight is now, it stops going up and it starts settling down onto me, like the weight's starting to weigh me down. That's the point where you're at the catch and your feet should hit the floor at the same time. So I'll actually, for this demonstration, I'll just do it with the bar. I'll do a snatch so you guys can see where I'm at before I get to the final points of it. So we're gonna get position here, shins are gonna go vertical. Feet and bar, same time. I should say my elbows are straight, locked out, catching the bar. And my feet hit at the same time. So then at the end, complete the lift by standing up with the weight, which you guys probably saw me do there. You're not, it's not a completed lift technically. If you catch to the bottom and you just dump it. And that'll be the same with clean and jerk. You got to stand up with the weight once you're done. So I'll run through all that with the snatch one more time here. Walk up to the bar. Feet are at shoulder width, the jumping position. You're going to grab the floor, full foot contact. We already talked about grip, bracing breath. Bars close to shins, so knees are in front of elbows. Flat back, neutral spine. And as I go, hips and shoulders are going to raise at the same rate. As my shins get vertical, bars staying close to the body. Triple extend with the second pull. And as I go through the rest of it, you're going to triple extend, knees, ankles, hips, generate power. And then you pull yourself under the bar. See if there's anything else I missed there that you guys need for the certification. Catch weight at the same time as your feet land. And complete the lift by standing all the way up. So that's the snatch. Once we get through clean and jerk, we got bars out so you guys we can try it out a little bit and I'll go back through the cues and we can practice. So secondarily, we got clean and jerk, which will be a little quicker because a lot of what I just went through on the first pull is the same, but with the narrower grip. So the difference with clean is same things that I've probably harped on a lot now is feet at shoulder width, full foot contact. This time the grip is different. So you're gonna want it to be just outside of shoulder width basically. For me, I like to go a little wider because in my stance, my legs are kind of wide. But you're gonna have same thing. You can choose a hook grip or overhand grip, double overhand grip that is. Have tension when you're about to pull off the floor. And the difference is once we get through the clean, you're not going all the way overhead first off. So the beginning part, take a breath, bar is gonna stay close to your shins, flat back, neutral spine, everything raised at the same rate, bar path straight up, but then you're gonna catch at the shoulders. So elbows through. And then from there, we'll go to the jerk, but I'll talk about that in a moment. So same thing, you got first pull, second pull, triple extension, pulling yourself under and jumping down, not just falling under the bar passively. And then you're gonna receive the bar, what you call your deltoid shelf. So a lot of athletes might have range of motion issues as far as being able to catch with their wrists. You can work on that by working through front squats elsewhere without having to do the full explosive movement of the clean. You can also use straps for them to grab onto so they have that same front rack position. And then after that, the next thing you could do is have crossed arms if they're really struggling with range of motion. But using the straps can be really beneficial because they still get the feel for those elbows up, so it translates over to the clean. Then, once you have the bar up on your deltoid shelf, so we'll get it there. This is the, like you call halfway point of the lift. You still got to get the bar overhead in a jerk. So you're here, you're taking a bracing breath again. And then I'll actually start off with a power jerk before I show you a split jerk, but bracing breath, dip drive, stand up with the bar again. Same deal. Catch the weight at the same time your feet land, but the only difference really there is you got dip drive, bracing breath, explode up, and then drop yourself under the bar and catch again. So there's a split jerk and there's a power jerk. I didn't mention that. Split jerk, your feet are going wider. It's just like a push press, but instead of push press, you drive, keep your knees locked out. Push jerk, you're gonna rebend them again. Same thing, you're pulling yourself under the bar. Where a split jerk, you pick one foot and train it, but your dominant foot, whichever is more comfortable, conversation you have with your athlete. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. The front foot is gonna have, so you got full foot contact here, vertical shin. You don't want them leaning back here or really far over the toe. You're gonna have the best balance with a vertical shin. And notice where my feet are width-wise. They're gonna be same thing as like a jumping position. They're about shoulder width. It's not super narrow because you have less balance there. If you're super wide, you don't have much power there. Main takeaway there though in a split jerk is your shin is vertical on the front foot, your knee is slightly bent on the back foot, and you're up on your weight supported on the ball of the foot. And one last thing to tell athletes about in the recovery from that is when you get to that point. So I'm here, I'm going to jerk. Right here, not finished, you have to stand up with it. Front foot comes back first. Front foot, then back foot. A lot of athletes who haven't worked with it before, they'll go back foot first. You have way less stability there, and it's kind of a safety issue sort of thing. It's just less efficient, so you can always look out for that. But that's it for snatch and clean and jerk. Let's go through it a little bit here. I'll let you guys finish up your notes. Yes, Tim?
If an athlete is struggling with their mobility, like you stated before,
yes,
would you coach this if they can't even get to that front rack position?
That is a great question. And I guess it would depend on the athlete and the sport, but alternatives are definitely like trap bar jumps or jump squat. I'd say, well, trap bar you could load pretty well and you're getting the same, at least the triple extension minus the catch. So, but I would try and work on them with, so if I had hooks and a bar here at the front rack, I'll show it real quick, at least on this bar where the straps would go. So you loop the straps through, add about a clean grip width. Other way. So, I don't have hooks. Well, anyways, I can get it up here. This was clumsy. No, I got it. There we go. Okay, don't do that. This is the position you're gonna be in here. So you can have longer straps working with them, but you can still have it balanced on your deltoid shelf because ultimately you should be able to do this and the bar is not gonna fall down. Your hands are just secondary supports. And if you're gonna jerk it, you wanna have your hand around it so that you have, like if your hands are out front, how are you gonna catch it? You know what I mean? But yeah, you can work through athletes in this position, or even if starting off, if you just want to get the feel on front squat, have them cross their arms over like this. So, any other questions? Okay. We've got training bars and PVC pipes. Probably start off with PVC pipe to feel the snatch. So, let's see, I can just pass a couple out here. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. So you three said you haven't snatched before or clean jerked?
Briefly.
Briefly?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you can stand up and find a little spot. We can start off with what I was talking about with the grip. Find a width where it's going to be right across the hip crease, that like belt line. And then the first thing we can go through is dip drive from this position. So dip and shrug, keeping the bar. You're coming up on your toes. I see that was actually incorrect there. Keep your elbows straight. Shrugging with your shoulders there. And then from there, we'd progress into a high pull. I could go through this for hours, but we'll go through it really quickly so you guys can get a feel for it. Just the quick overview. So from here, now you go on high pull, kind of brushing that logo on your chest. Pulling, keeping your knuckles down, pulling with your fists. So up to your collarbone. And then after this, could go into the turnover, a power snatch. First, I guess we can go into a snatch balance. They put the bar back on your shoulders and do these little drop under things, which are called snatch balances. So you widen your feet and you push the bar up as you squat down, as far as you can go with your range of motion. And that's going to be the catch position. And then after that, we can go back to this power position, and you're trying to get to that spot. So doing the same thing with the high pull, except now you're going all the way up, and you're pulling yourself under the bar. So just catching it, knees above parallel, don't have to sink all the way down. Power snatch. There you go. Not so wide with the feet. All right, and then let's go down to the floor from the pull position, imagining that you had a bar with plates. We can go with that with the training bars in a second. So it's at the right height, but basically mid-shin. So get down, think about full foot contact, squeezing the floor, and you've got your knees coming in front of your elbows, which might be kind of hard range of motion for some of you. And then as you stand up, shins come vertical. So work through that low motion a couple times. Sliding, knees back. There you go. And you're all doing a good job keeping your chest up, shoulders back. And then after that, you can come all the way up in the second pull where you're coming up and triple extending. So that first shrug we did, let's go to that. You're coming down from the floor. And your knees, you shouldn't have to pull around your knees. That's what the whole vertical shins thing is for, is your knees should move out of the way so the bar is still on a straight path and you're coming through. There we go. And let's put it all together from the floor, going overhead, catching it above parallel in a power snatch. So and then let's do one more where you catch it all the way down at the bottom as low as you can get. So I've got pretty decent range of motion. Also, this would be easier in elevated heels, which I don't think any of us really have on. Or you can even start off with the same thing. So power snatch, catch it here, and then sink down once you're done into an overhead squat. Overhead squat's pretty challenging movement. So, but just to get a feel of the movement a little bit for coaching athletes is good. Like I said, it's a thing that takes a long time to develop, but it's got a lot of carryover to power and force production for athletes. One other thing is you want your elbows to be locked out when you catch it. Because if it's here, then your muscles are going to be taking the brunt of the weight and they're going to fail. Where if you have it locked out, the force is going through your bones and they're going to be way stronger than your muscles. You're going to be really solid here when you get up into heavier weights at least.
This isn't on the certification, but something that I found is really helpful with my mentors is to squeeze the outside of your hands together. So like, I used to like, snatch and have like really loose grip, and I kept like catching it here and destroying my elbows. So if you're up and squeeze the outside, like imagine you're trying to bend the bar. You're not actually gonna bend the barbell.
Right. This'll bend.
So that basically activates from the pinky all the way down.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's not on the certification, but that's something that's helped me a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys want, you can grab an empty barbell and try it too. Those are, do you know how much the training bars are, Tim? 20. 20?
Pounds bars are like 10 kilos.
Nice.
They're like 25 pounds.
Got it. There you go. That's pretty good, Anna. You got some good range of motion. Tim's working on it. Like I said, like 90% of people need an elevated heel, so lifting shoes for this, because that's like stepping on a plate or something. If you do an overhead squat, it's going to make it feel a lot better. Or your range of motion. You're giving your joints an advantage as far as you can have your weight a little bit further forward. You can get deeper depth on the knee bend. Let's go into cleans real quick then. So this one, kind of, if you guys are familiar with the bench grip, this is kind of where it's going to be comfortable for an athlete to be able to turn the bar over. So as you can see with me, I have terrible mobility when I have a light weight. I need a weight to press down. But this is going to be the spot if you want to just balance it to start off with, like this, like a zombie squat position. It's resting on your deltoids, yeah. And then you can do like a little squat with that. And then if you're able to, with this lighter weight, slipping your hands underneath. And ideally, it should be resting on your deltoids. It should never be fully loaded on your wrists like this, but for me, I'll have you guys definitely try with the barbell with this. But you'll be able to feel that it's a slightly different pull than the snatch. Like it's the same mechanics to start off. So full foot in the ground, knees in front of elbows. You're still pushing your knees back as you come up and coming up with it. Except this one, obviously, you're bending your elbows. On a snatch, you wouldn't, because it's a closer grip. So you're coming up, high pull. Let's start from the high pull position we did before again. So with a closer grip, you're going here. You can just feel how it's a little narrower. It's going to be a little different. And always thinking that a lot of people will try and just wrench on it with their upper body. Your legs are the engines here 100%. So once you actually get weight in your hands, it should be your legs that are driving it up, triple extension. And then let's do that same thing from the floor. So, or mid-shin, get a feel for it. You can go into it slowly. Shins vertical, knees back. There we go. And then let's all grab a bar for this one. Once we go any further forward, so you can get a little better feel for the turnover of it. Tim's cleaned a time or two. Once or twice. But same thing, you can start from whatever position you feel comfortable at. But on the floor, get into this position. Your feet are hitting at the same time that the bar is turning over onto your shoulders. There you go, Anna. Good. And even if you want to, just sitting there with the bar in that position, on your deltoid shelf, with your hands there, and getting a feel for it. Maybe squat down a time or two, because you're gonna have to drop under the bar once you catch it in a clean. Nice, Anna. You should do Olympic lifting sometime. Also, so I can go through it here, the jerk part of it. Before you even get into a jerk, go whichever foot you think is like more dominant foot, put it forward and try and get into this position where your shin's vertical and you're on the ball of your foot with your knee bent. So you should have equal weight distribution on both feet. There you go. So front, that's pretty solid right there. Make sure the back knee is bent for you, Ethan. There you go. So sink down a little bit, because if it's straight, you don't have any control there because your muscle's already locked all the way out. But this is the position that you're going to end up in. So without a bar or anything here, start off like dropping into that a couple times, as if you would where you have a bar, kind of like a little split jump squat. And then front foot, back foot. Good. And with the bars, there's a push press, a push jerk. Let's all you grab the bars, let's do push jerks. So not worrying about the split stance, even though we just worked on it. Going your feet a little wider. And that can get the feel for the bar going overhead, how it's going to be to catch. So your feet hit the same time the bar is hitting the top of your extension. So catching the bar, same time your feet go out. And then that position we were just in with the split feet, you can try that whenever you feel pretty good for it. There you go. Widen feet out a little bit. You'll get a feel for it pretty quick. This is kind of complex that like, if you land with your feet too narrow, you're going to feel like you're going to tip one way or the other. So just like when you land, even though your feet are split, it's still like the shoulder width that we would jump at. That's good, but not your knee so low that like you're almost going to be touching the floor. Good, Anna. We go, Ethan, front foot a little further forward. You're kind of landing with your knee over your toe. So feel okay to reach a little bit further forward with that front foot so you got more of a base. It's a little better. Good. And then let's try the whole thing. So from the floor, going through the whole clean, shins back, pull, and then into a jerk. Take a bracing breath and drive it up. Front foot, back foot. So it'll look a little something like this. And if it was heavy weight, you just dump it. But yeah, if you guys want to try that a little bit with a little bit of weight on, you'll get, especially with the clean, it'll feel a little better. Or we can work through that later this week sometime. During our lifting sessions, I'm happy to go through this stuff in a little shorter time with you. I guess one last time, I'll just run through everything that you guys have on your checklist. So, yes?
When people are competing, is it just the jerk, or is it split jerk, or do they do both?
You can, so as long as, it's all about where the bar's position is. Deltoid shelf to overhead. You just have to get the bar overhead in 2 movements instead of 1. So snatch, it's a 1 motion, the bar's got to get overhead and you got to catch it. Clean and jerk, you get like a readjust where it doesn't touch anything, it's on your shoulders, and you can do either stance, I guess, is the short answer to that. A lot of good lifters do power jerk. It's hard, it's more challenging because you have less forward and back control, so it usually takes more technique. A lot of people who have like low back or hip injuries, where this is uncomfortable for them, they'll go into that and they can be more effective at catching it in a power stance. But the most common is split. You can do either of those.
So they get to choose.
You get to choose, power or split.
Do you know, like you said, some people have like lower back issues or something like that, but do you know like what's one of the most common reasons why people choose one or the other? Do you have thoughts on that?
Not really. It's kind of just personal feel. I'm sure there's a good answer out there for someone who does it, but because I've asked, my coach at Milwaukee Barbell does a power jerk instead of a split jerk, and he's really competitive. So that was his reason, at least, was he has hip problems, so he doesn't have the range of motion really going back. But there's going to be a number of reasons. It doesn't really, your body mechanics are the same as far as on the dip and the drive is more important than the catch. So dip and drive, that's where you're getting all of the benefits of this in this like collegiate setting. Is the pull from the floor is the biggest thing, triple extension, putting force into the ground. And then it'd be the same thing with the dip and drive, putting force in the ground and vertically. So that's the part where everybody's gonna try and follow in and have a similar technique. And then the catch is more technique biased, so whatever. I don't have a great answer for you. I'll put it that way. Yeah. Yep.
You're not really like jumping, right? You're just kind of lifting.
No, so for you to be, I should say, you're not leaving the floor with your feet. Your feet shouldn't come off the floor like a jump, and you wouldn't be able to do it with heavier weight anyways, but you're driving through your whole foot. So as you come up, then into triple extension, your foot leaves or your heels leave the floor and you're coming up on your toes. But so like you said, yeah, it's a drive, but it's like a very maximal drive. It's like a jump where you don't come off the floor, basically. Like, yeah, well,
have them do like 10 drop squats, because like you're going to be trying to get into a squat position as fast as possible.
yeah, like that's like for snatch, it's like a snatch balance where we got the bar and you're going, dropping into it, to get a feel for the snatch position. And then for a primer for like cleans, I've seen people doing like that with a kettlebell, where they'll hold a kettlebell here and they'll drop under it all the way down to the floor with like.
And then it's like you're not jumping,
You're dropping, because that's one of the biggest takeaways is you're pulling yourself under, or you're jumping down. You're not just falling. It's a pretty good split, Ian. So on that, Ethan, the think about having your knuckles down the whole time. So like, because you kind of did, like everything was good as you pulled it up until you kind of reverse curled it, and it might feel better with a little bit of weight on there as more resistance. But think about brushing your shirt, pulling it up all the way to your chest, keeping that straight line really snug with your body.
And then when you go up,
Then the bar is staying in the same spot. You're thinking about rotating your wrists around the bar. You're not holding on to it and turning the bar. The bar is staying there. You're releasing and sliding underneath. I can do that a few times. So the bar is staying in the same spot. It's basically weightless, and I'm adjusting around the bar so that I can catch it at its weightless point on my shoulders. And that's just a muscle clean right there without using my legs, which is one of the beginning progressions you can use. And then this is from a hang. That was actually kind of bad. I jumped forward. And then you can go from the floor too. But each of those, starting from the top and working your way to the full movement, you can take away segments that really challenge people, so you're not like throwing a beginner in to do the whole movement all at once, which you can with lighter weight. Like what we're doing right now, so you can get a feel for it. But it's good to progress with like pulls off the floor, hang position catches, and power snatch, power clean, jerk.
when you hook grip, which fingers should
Start with your middle finger. So your middle finger should be on the tip of your thumb, and then your index, so you can get two on there, because you're going to have more leverage with your middle finger if you can get it all the way around there, which I know people like me have stubby fingers, so you got to get a feel for it.
clean, do you?
Yeah.
You do.
Yep, I hook grip with clean, snatch, any pull from the floor, because once you get over, like, no matter how good a grip strength you have, guys doing more than like 300 pounds or 150 kilos in that range, you're gonna need a mechanical advantage to pull the weight off the floor. In competition, you can't use straps. You got to use just your hands. So there you go, Tim. Get down. So if you guys feel kind of decent about getting under the bar a little bit, want me to just go through it all one more time, like 1 minute on each lift? Just take the green check marks you guys got to hit. Since we're just on the clean and jerk, I'll go clean and jerk. Feet shoulder width apart. Number one, full foot contact on the ground. Number two, those are the same for both snatch and clean and jerk. The grip is going to obviously be different on them. We talked about that with the snatch and with the clean. I'll be doing clean here. Bar close to shins. You can say knees in front of elbows. Take a bracing breath. Shoulders are over the bar or a little bit in advance of it, but not behind it, because then you're sitting too low and you don't have leverage. Bar path should be straight up, and your hips and shoulders should raise at the same rate as you're going up, and your shins coming vertical. Those are all different little things you got to know. And then next thing's triple extension, and pull yourself under or jump down. For clean and jerk, you need to know that you're receiving the bar on your deltoid shelf and you're doing a dip drive. So dip, it shouldn't be like a deep squat because you're going to lose power and efficiency there. It's just a little dip. Stand up with it, front foot first. Catch the weight same time as your feet land, and your front foot is back. So that is a clean and jerk. Snatch, I guess I can go through really quick too. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's actually less complex than clean and jerk. So I already went through all the setup stuff. Triple extension, pull under, full foot contact when you come back under the bar here. And then catch weight at the same time as your feet land. Complete the lift by standing up with the weight. So, again, I'll be happy to walk through any of the stuff with you guys as far as what you need to hit on your certification. But you only need to do one of those lifts. So don't need to do both. Any questions? I don't know how Ken stands. What's that?
Looks good.
Thank you. So I don't know how Ken stands in front of a class every day for an hour and talks. That's harder than I thought.